Hit the button. We're live. How's it going, everybody? Yeah, hit the button, press the red button, ba-kaboom.
Boom.
There we go. And then we're in the Zocalo, and here we are. We are broadcasting.
Hey.
Yay. Yes. Norm, you are back from yet another mission in Sector 14. It's been a little crazy in 2020. A lot of unusual activity.
A lot of usual activity. But, Sector 14, I'll tell you what, that's Zathras. He's got to get my time stabilizer fixed.
Well, that caused you a lot of problems this last time, and I'm so glad you didn't come back with gray hair. That could have been bad news.
Well, he was lecturing Ivanova on this is the wrong tool and this is the wrong tool, how she's finite and how everything's finite.
Yes, you are finite. Zathras is finite.
This is wrong tool.
That's right.
One of the few times in Babylon 5, I literally did a spit take, with something. I thought it was brilliant. And Tim Choate, wherever you are beyond the rim, we love you.
We love you so much. R.I.P. That is not, however, what we're talking about today. We are back after a 1-week absence because you had some things that you had to take care of. And that's just probably the way things might have to be from here on out. We do this whenever we can. Mm-hmm. We are piggybacking off of the last show we did, though, which was a dissection of JMS's story that gave us the Susan and Marcus happily ever after, as I like to call it.
That's right. It's a time, space, and the incurable romantic, or space,
time, and the incurable
romantic. Yeah,
that's correct. Sorry. Yes. Originally published as a short story. You can go out on the internet and find it if you want to read it. It's only about 12 pages. It's a quick and easy but fun read. And so if you haven't checked out our episode on that, you can get our thoughts there. And piggybacking off of that, Terry Jones, our good friend Terry Jones over the pond, gave me some notes, essentially, regarding this story. So I'd like to read that if I could.
Do we want to vow to before you read?
Should we?
Or do you want to read then vow to?
Okay, how about that? Well, what are you drinking first?
Brevari, of course.
What kind of Brevari?
It's a Brevari from Texas.
Oh, Texas. Is that where they do the hokey pokey?
You do a little shout. That's what it's all about.
There's some things I do not understand. Country and Western?
Shar, you're on point today. Oh, hey, Slice of Sci-Fi is with us today.
Yeah, hi, Summer. Long time no see. Good to see you. To answer your question, I do not have the original magazine the story was in. No.
I don't have the original, but it was Fantastic Tales or Amazing Stories 600 and something.
Published in 2000, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah. But if you're asking to say I'd like to send you my autographed copy of it, absolutely. Please hit me up. I'll take that donation.
That's right. That's right. Yes, you can email us to that. It's, what is it? ZocaloLivecast@gmail.com.
That's correct. Either ZocaloCast or ZocaloLivecast@gmail.com.
You could do that or just send a DM. Either way.
That's right. And yeah, we'll send you our address and you can send us that magazine. So LOL, nah, it's not autographed yet, which means you have it. Me Sherlock
Look at
Holmes say it so. Yeah.
Nice.
Did we toast?
We didn't. Well, shall we?
We shall.
Yes, I asked you about your Brevari. I'm doing my usual pomegranate vodka drink. And to that I shall say, Val tu.
Val tu.
I also have a little water on the side because I have to be sober later, which, whatever.
Sobriety is so overrated.
Sometimes. I mean, podcasting is a lot funner.
Only
with a
when
little bit of...
Was it like sobriety is only overrated unless you're driving?
Well, definitely then. Yeah. Please do not drink and drive. Don't do anything irresponsible. Don't harm yourself or other people, but have a good time.
Here it is. Don't drink and drive. Don't be on mind-altering drugs and drive. Don't be on the sleepers and drive, and certainly don't text and drive.
Oh, that annoys the living crap out of me when you can tell somebody's texting and driving because they're swerving all over the place.
Or
unnecessary,
when you
guys.
You go you turn to the side and they're like,
yeah.
Don't nod at me. Put your phone down.
No,
don't nod at me.
2 freaking ton vehicle. Please be safe. It can wait. It doesn't matter what the message is. It can wait. If you really have to answer it right away, pull the freak over.
Welcome to the Gripecast. where we gripe about everything.
I'll be stepping off my soapbox now. Sorry, little PSA. It's a grand marketplace. You don't know what you're going to get.
This is true. I'm sorry. So Summer's saying, which is why I'm curious if Terry's notes came from the magazine issue or not. No.
Oh,
so
no.
Getting back to what you're saying.
So here we go. One is an email exchange he had with JMS, and he corrected JMS on one thing. Ivanova's father was Petrov, and we know that his name is Andre. But hey, you probably spotted that anyway, said Terry, and JMS's reply was, shit, missed that. Oh, well, we'll fix that if it ever gets reprinted. Oops.
That's so funny.
So that's great. And the other thing that he sent me was about the Soul Hunter machine, because we talked about how the neural map, whatever it was of Ivanova, we weren't completely sure what it was. So he sent me a little something or another. And so here is the excerpt. After the incident with the Soul Hunter on Babylon 5, the machine he used to capture souls was impounded for study by the Earth Alliance. After years of in-depth research on the machine and reverse engineering the technology involved, scientists from across the Interstellar Alliance were successfully replicated the technology and applied it to advanced neural scanning, mapping, and recording. While there were obvious medical benefits to this technology, there was also the attraction of achieving a form of immortality in this too, yes, with the leap forward in quantum data compression and storage and the ability to replay the preserved memories of the subjects. There was soon a new area of historical research, being able to directly study the memories of important historical figures throughout the Interstellar Alliance history. This technique was used on Ivanova before she died, and the memories stored in the Sirius 9 Neural Archive. So thank you very much, Terry, for passing along that information. That does clear it up a little bit.
Well, sure. And it makes total sense. I mean, even if we didn't see it canonically, like in the show, that makes total sense. It sounds like it can fit right into like the Babylon 5 universe.
It's in the canon now, baby.
So it's an interesting concept, though, kind of like that type of technology, the perversion of that technology, which inevitably all technology gets abused in one way or another, depending on whose hands it belongs to. But
yeah.
You're right. So, but that's, again, just kind of like going back to what we were talking about before. Even if they were able to do that, do they have the right to do that?
Right? Is like, how much consent is there involved? Like, what exactly is this procedure? We really don't know. There's so many unanswered questions with the answering of one question.
I mean, think about it this way, Shar. The Soul Hunters were feared because what they did, they basically took without permission the souls of those who were dying or at the time of death, preserving them because they felt that they were justified in preserving that soul, that life essence.
Right. But that was their mission and their purpose.
No one gave them permission to do it. They were capturing souls that should have been free to some beliefs, like the Minbari.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, now you can replicate it in a technological format, so you can do it ad nauseum with or without the consent of people, so that you can preserve their memories that they did with Ivanova. So going back to what they did with Marcus, Marcus didn't ask to be frozen.
No, he sure didn't.
Right?
Did she ask to have her neural pathways stored for all posterity and then brought back?
Right. That's kind of like where we're getting to this really interesting moral quandary. Just because you can do something I keep saying posthumously, it's posthumously. Posthumously,
yes.
It doesn't give people the right to do it.
Not necessarily. Especially not without consent. And there's certainly a lot of ethical boundaries here. We're opening up a big can of worms that has nothing to do with our episode this week.
No, that'll be our episode next week.
Maybe that would be a good one maybe for next week. Oh my gosh, a few brevaries in, and man.
I'd like to say hi.
That could be a heavy hitter.
Terry Lynn is with us and Dana's with us.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Nice
we got a good turnout today. And Jessica 1993, hello. I saw your comment on Babel for 5. I need my husband to write that Franklin fanfic. Yes, I do.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, where he buys Garibaldi the soap dish, like the Daffy Duck soap dish that he has in his bathroom. Yeah. Yeah, that happened. Franklin bought that for him.
Well, I think it's just because maybe because he let Garibaldi slide with the Italian dish that
the
his father made. The bagna cotta, yeah.
Maybe. I always figure like when you know somebody likes something, like for the longest time, my grandma was obsessed with angels. And so we got her for I don't know how many years, little angel figurines and knickknacks, blah, 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 anything to do with angels. It's like when you find out that one thing that somebody really likes, you get them whatever you possibly can of that thing that you know they're going to like as a gift. So
Oh,
we had this,
really?
right?
Or perhaps these things.
Just saying.
They're just
That's kind of how that works. And so my husband thought of this scenario where someday at some point, Franklin was just browsing around in the Zocalo, found this Daffy Duck soap dish and said, that's going to be perfect for Garibaldi, and gave it to him as a gift.
But where does that come from, though? That's like, okay, so
Don't know.
Right. So the Zocalo's this giant flea market, and
Right.
it brings in so many different things. You have, silks from different cultures. You have different types of breviary. You have all different types of weird food. You have Swedish meatballs of every kind, right?
Yes.
Cats that look like ducks, ducks that look like cats. They all nibble.
Yep. Everything. Babylon 5
Yes,
bears.
right. Bears that end up going through the airlock.
That's right.
But a Daffy Duck soap dish. I'd love to know in that part of the story where that thing made it through the filtering system and ends up on the Zocalo.
That in and of itself is possibly a really good story.
Yeah. I digress.
You are very good at I suddenly have no ability to talk. My tongue just died.
You're practicing the thing.
Oh, it's true. I'm later doing a voice acting recording where I have to play somebody who has a lisp. So I think my tongue is preparing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we're here to talk about unrequited love, believe it or not, 11 minutes in. And we're going to try and answer this question with the other relationships that we have seen throughout Babylon 5 to either prove or disprove or come to absolutely no conclusions at all as to whether or not Ivanova's line is has any truth to it.
That's a powerful line when you really think about it.
It is. And coming from her, it's incredibly apt. So to get us started, I wanted to look up the definition of unrequited just to make sure we understand exactly what we're looking for.
Okay.
And so what it is an adjective of a feeling, especially love, not returned or rewarded. Thankless, in other words. Yes.
Okay.
So
that is this is the auspices of what we're talking about.
Yes. Unrequited. So I wanted to just start off with Ivanova, front and center, since she is the person who said the line. It makes perfect sense that she said this because of her history. We know that she has a lot of pain and loss throughout her whole life, starting with her own family, watching her mom slowly fade away with the sleepers, then eventually committing suicide, having a strained relationship with her father, losing her brother. That alone is going to hurt somebody's heart, yes?
Yes.
And then probably a good series of relationships here and there, people who just weren't the right person, As she says, no depth, or they were empty inside, or it just wasn't meant to be. Just incompatibility, wrong time, wrong place, wrong person, who knows? And so then eventually we circle back to having a short-lived but important relationship with Talia in season 2, only to have that yanked away the moment she gives anybody a chance. She's betrayed.
Yeah, there's a lot that's going on with Susan with these examples. And so let's go back kind of like character by character in her life that's, that could have prevented this maybe, or could have alleviated this, or maybe not let her down this path. But probably the most important person, probably at least in Ivanova's history that started this entire, this entire kind of issue with love and not being reciprocated in that way was her mom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't her mother's fault. Her mother was on the sleepers, so that she wasn't really feeling much of anything.
No.
No,
completely dead.
Yeah.
Inside.
So, and as much as Susan wanted to love her, it's not that her mother didn't love her in return, it's that she just really didn't have the capacity to show it anymore.
Exactly. So whatever love Susan did give her, she did not get it back. Whatever her mother's intentions were, I'm sure she did love her daughter, but was actually incapable.
Right. Yeah. Incapable of showing it, incapable of feeling it, really incapable of any kind of emotion, at least more towards the end of her treatment, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, her father withdrew after her mother died.
Yeah, basically emotionally absent.
Mm-hmm. And then, so her connection with her father was pretty much severed, because any type of affection that she wanted to get from him, kind of almost
Unavailable.
unavailable, died when her mother died.
Yeah.
Right.
Which then leaves her brother. And up until his death, they were fairly close.
It seemed like she adored him and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that was a nice touching moment in the beginning when, they had the whole, I'm going to join the, I'm going to join the fleet, or I'm going to join the academy. And it's like, no, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. We'll talk about this when I get back. Here's my earring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we know what happened after that. So she loses yet another.
But at least that relationship was still, a healthy, loving relationship. It wasn't like he just said, no, I'm going to stop loving you. It's just that
it's just
he
got taken away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a good relationship while it was there, and then it got cut short.
Right. But Talia, though, that was really something that just tore her up, because it's not just that Talia was taken away. It's just that the Talia that she loved never existed, really.
Right. She never really knew her, did she?
No.
Right? So that's got to be a real mind you-know-what.
Right. And so Ivanova, for the most part, we saw like how she was starting to open up to Talia, and how she started to trust her, and how they started forming this relationship. And it's not just, everyone can say that, yes, it's alluding to this, this same-sex relationship, a lesbian relationship.
Sure.
But it was more than that, because remember when Talia said, when telepaths, or maybe Lita said this, when telepaths let down their walls and actually allow their emotions and their love to connect with another telepath, it's like nothing that you can ever describe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when
in fact, I think maybe Talia and Lita said things alluding to that on separate occasions, if I'm recalling correctly.
And then Susan said that too, when she said, have you ever, she said that she could feel telepathically her mother's love, because Susan was a latent as well.
Right.
So now you have...
So that had to have been intense. Yes. And we know what a big step it was just for her to open up and even think about entertaining a relationship with Talia.
Right.
I mean, think about what it took just to get there. That she finally does it. And they start having the workings of a great relationship, or so it seems. And then, nope.
Right.
Not at all. It was nothing that she thought it was.
Or could trust, because everything that she built up to that moment was building up that trust.
Right.
To start feeling something for somebody again, feeling love for somebody again, and getting past all of those different Psi-Core icons, the badge, the gloves, right?
All the barriers. Yes.
Yeah. And that was taken away from her. And it's like quicksand, because it's not like Talia was killed like in a space shuttle accident, or, she was swallowed up by a planet. Her personality was literally destroyed.
Yeah. A very different type of loss in that instance. And I would say even a much more painful one, attached to the amount of work it took just to even start a relationship there.
Yeah.
So that is why she cut off her heart entirely, where she says, my heart and I don't speak anymore. That had to have been why. Because she knew she loved Talia, and whatever semblance of a relationship that was, that was profound for her. And so that is why she was so inaccessible to Marcus the entire time. There was no way she could entertain it. She absolutely could not. She had to protect herself. She had to close off. Mm-hmm. She had been taught time and time again.
Now, we all know the relationship that she had with Marcus. I mean, I was kind of talking about it in the last episode, but I want to kind of like take everything that we've just discussed about Susan and go back to the definition of unrequited. So,
okay.
Of a feeling, especially love, not returned or rewarded. Not returned can be interpreted a couple of different ways. Not returned purposefully, or not returned because it's unable to be returned.
Yeah. And I would say Susan experiences a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah. Rewarded, though, I'm not exactly sure what that means.
maybe reciprocated is the better
Reciprocated.
word.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, reciprocated. Yeah. So but the thing is that it's not that the people in her lives didn't want to, it's that every single time they were about to, they were removed from her life.
Sure. Yeah. Or
Right.
maybe in some cases unable, like her mother. Before
Right.
she died, she was incapable and then completely unable when she was gone.
Right. So every
And
time, yeah, every time she opened up her heart, this is the pattern that forced her to close her heart.
yes, yes.
Right.
And then here comes Marcus,
Mhm.
who's got an open heart, a big heart at that, and wants to do nothing but love her. And she's just no, 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 no.
Right.
Absolutely cannot, because she knows she's just gonna get hurt again. And it's not that she was wrong, because he ultimately gives his life for her, and in that sense does kind of hurt her in a way, because he leaves behind in that wake a lot of grief, a lot of confusion, a lot of resentment, I think.
But that also alludes to the fact that this entire time that she was giving him grief, she actually was falling in love with him. She just wouldn't admit it,
Well, she couldn't.
or let herself admit it.
Yes. So once again, she proves her thesis statement. Love in her life is all unrequited.
But in this case, also though, Marcus's love is her love for Marcus is unrequited, and Marcus's love for her is unrequited, because
Yes.
all Marcus wanted, remember, it's like all he wanted was a kind word or a smile.
Right.
Right.
And she couldn't even give him that.
Right. So in their case,
Yeah,
that is
100% it's
it
unrequited.
proves the point on both sides.
Yep. So with her, absolutely all love is unrequited. So I think we can move on from there as a foundation. But before we do that, I want to just jump into some comments.
Please do.
Slice of sci-fi. You know what? I've worked several corporate soul-sucking jobs in my day, and if there's some way to make money and doing what you love for a passion, for a living, man, number one, you deserve it 100%. And then if there's a way, please share, because I think that's something we all want that. And damn it, if we don't kind of, not deserve it, but if that would be our best lives, right?
One of these days, we're going to be able to harness the atom and build great starships and reach out into the stars and build this entirely great federation that has no need for the acquisition of wealth.
It would be amazing, because then we could just be artists or scientists or what have you, like a lot of cultures in Star Trek are. And we can live our best lives and not have to worry about things like putting a roof over our head, food insecurity, or what have you.
Feeding rabbits.
Feeding rabbits, super important.
Super important.
But have a good life, enjoy our lives to the fullest. So Summer, I wish you luck on that. I really do, because I feel like a lot of us are in that kind of a struggle where we have to do a lot of things just to get by, and if it's not just a complete brain and energy drain, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
I'm in that boat too.
Unlock that riddle and keep it to yourself. Accumulate all the wealth.
I almost thought you said unlock that Ritalin, as in the medicine.
Well,
I mean, that works for some people.
So Terry Lynn says, remember Susan, one story of her mother that was loving one just before she died. Yeah, that was that story where she says, her mother just let down the walls and wrapped her telepathy,
Yes.
around Susan, and let that pure, honest emotion cascade and kind of bathe Susan in this all-encompassing love.
Yeah.
Right. The way that telepaths do.
And yeah, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one moment of perfect beauty, if you will.
True enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. Summer also says Susan didn't trust that what she was feeling was love, because she wants nothing more than to avoid pain. Absolutely. Yeah, she's totally protecting herself, harming herself possibly in the process, but at the same time, perfectly understandable why she's doing what she's doing.
Well, I mean, it's very human to, when you've experienced pain and loss and suffering, to try and build that callousness around yourself, because some people love so much and so deeply and so honestly and so hard that if something doesn't get reciprocated, not in the way that they want it to, but if it's removed from them unfairly or unjustly by society, by fate, by destiny, it just hurts so much, right? And
right. And how many times can a person take being hurt over and over again?
Yeah.
You do reach a point, I think, where you say no more.
Hmm.
I can't go on.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
so let's see, how does that apply to Delenn when Delenn said this, when Lanier said this to Delenn?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Lanier because honestly, I feel like he's got one of the bigger unrequited love stories in Babylon 5.
You think?
Yet think. Yeah, so talking about unrequited love, his love for Delenn, yeah, I would say was unrequited.
Mhm.
Delenn did love Lanier in a fashion, but not in the way that he wanted or felt even maybe that he deserved.
And I think that Lanier's love for Delenn, and he said this to Marcus when he was this the time when he was making his confession before the ceremony, the sacrificial ceremony, where they were going to
Probably. That's when he confesses to Marcus
confesses.
that he loves Delenn, yes.
Right. So he said it was like, it's not the kind of love that you would think. It's a purer, more nobler love.
And that's such a Minbari thing to say, isn't it?
It is. It is. But at the same time, though, I think he's actually trying to sell himself on that, because obviously, with that one act that Morden said would betray the Anla Shak, Lanier acted on more of kind of like almost like a carnal, jealous love when
Do
he
you
when he
feel do you feel that Lanier thought that he would eventually earn Delenn's love, that he was entitled to her love if he worked just a little bit harder, if he became just a little bit better of a person, a little more prominent of a person, that maybe he would have a shot at it?
Well, I think that's what he was trying to work under. You know, he was like, if I show Delenn that she is the calling of my heart and that I serve her with every fiber of my being, with the most noble intention, that my nobility and my chastity and my purity will eventually win her over, because that's who he was. I mean, as
Yeah,
coming from a religious caste in the third Fane of Chidomo, you know, when he walked on that station, he was like the most innocent of innocents,
very much. Oh
right?
gosh, think about to those very early days of him coming
Exactly.
aboard the station, naive little boy.
Yeah.
He hadn't gotten out too much, and he says as much when he gets to go out on an adventure or two.
But I also think that, you know, because he was always at her side, sometimes when you become the shield for somebody else's pain and you absorb that pain, you take on that pain, you think that you become maybe a little bit more entitled to their emotional accessibility than they think you do.
I totally agree with that, and that makes a
Right.
lot of sense for Lanier.
Mhm.
Because for as much as Delenn may care for Lanier, Lanier cared for Delenn a hell of a lot more.
Well, because she was the only light in his life.
Yes, thank you for articulating that. Yes, that was the next thing I was going to say.
Ooh.
Was I mean that yeah, he or she is his world.
Yes.
Whereas she's got a lot of other things going on, and then eventually she falls in love with John.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he is justifying to himself by season 3 the kind of love that I have for Delenn is better than a romantic love. So she can go make out with Johnny. That's fine. That's
Right.
carnal love. That's
Right.
ew love. I've
And
got
that
something better.
exactly. That's exactly it with Lanier.
Mhm.
And the thing is
And so
that
he thinks he's better.
yes, and in many ways, because of that, it blinds him to the reality of what is really happening.
Oh,
And
yeah. And so then I think the breaking point for him is when Sheridan and Delenn do get married. And he realizes, oh, I'm the third wheel now. This is uncomfortable. And that's why he had to go.
right, and that's why I think that's so important. Even though, and Summer, I'm kind of like directing this at you. Even though that Morden was in, you know, the Day of the Dead, where I know that Tim has his reservations of why he shouldn't have been there.
Even after much discussion.
Even after much discussion.
Hi, Tim. If you're listening, I can't talk anymore. God damn it.
Perhaps the reason why Morden, an agent of evil, was there is because remember what I think Lanier said this. He said that if the work comes from a point that is not pure, it makes the
becomes
entire
corrupted.
work. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Right.
and he does that exact same thing. That's why, like, he joins the Rangers for the completely wrong
Wrong
reasons,
reasons.
and therefore it becomes corrupted. Yes,
Exactly.
yes. Isn't it
Right.
interesting that he was the one who said those words?
And you're starting to
Mm.
slowly see that happen to him, because everything that Lanier has done to this point was completely summarized by Londo when says that if Lanier says that it happened, it had to be so. His reputation is beyond reproach. He
He
was
is
the
a
one.
very credible guy.
Lanier, like, and I loved it when Londo said that, because no matter how no matter how manipulated or no matter how corrupt Londo became, he always admired Lanier.
Yes,
Always.
I love that too. They
Right.
had it wasn't a very frequently visited relationship, but when they had those moments,
Mhm.
it was so genuine and in and of itself pure.
So now we're getting into this whole, um, I guess, Camelot-esque romance. You have King
Mm.
Arthur, which is Sheridan. You
Uh-huh.
have Guinevere, which is Delenn, and now you
Dylan.
have Lancelot, which is Lanier.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, the one who
And
tried to
so,
divide a kingdom because of his love for the queen.
yeah. Oh, and this was so doomed to fail for Lanier. Dana has a great comment about how Delenn's love for Sheridan, a human, was salt in the wound for Lanier. Absolutely. And I think he even said he has a line in Atonement where they do the dreaming,
Mhm.
and they're trying to basically justify how she can go off and marry a human to Minbari society, and it can be justified. And I think Lanier says something on the lines of, so that is why you are in love with Sheridan, is because you have all this pent up guilt and you're reaching out. You want to be, um, that bridge to humans and try to basically atone for your actions in the Earth Minbari War. That's why you're attracted to him. Not because it's the calling of your heart, but because of that.
But that's almost Lanier trying to justify the reason why she's not with him.
Yep, he's justifying it to himself, not to her.
Right, justifying it to himself. It's like, oh, of course that's the reason why. I mean, if it weren't for that, she'd be with me.
Right?
But how many
Yeah.
people, like, how many of us in our lives haven't done that? Right? It's like,
Oh, denial is a very powerful thing.
exactly. So it's like, oh, you know what? If it weren't for that guy, being this or that or the other thing, there's this whole kind of this "thou shalt not covet" being put into play. You know, if you believe in the the Judeo-Christian Ten Commandments, which is they're fine. I won't get into that.
Yeah.
But the last two is like, "Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife or things."
Sure.
Right. And in this case, though, he's justifying the fact that she's not with him based solely on that Delenn's heart is trying to atone for sins past.
Yeah. Yeah, more or less. And
Right.
in his heart, that is just such a pure reason. He can
Right.
completely see how and why that's all coming to be. And he is 100% good with that because it is so pure. Now,
Right.
Summer has a great comment. Was like Delenn, was she a little naive? Because Summer's saying that she thought that what Lanier felt for her was the same as what she felt for Ducat. Basically, like kind of a mentor mentee kind of relationship. But she never mixed in the romantic love for her feelings of Ducat, and really neither for Lanier.
No, but given
That's
the
such a good point.
given the opportunity, that may have happened.
What do you mean?
Well, given the opportunity, she may have become a little bit more infatuated with Ducat, but that never happened. She just,
Maybe.
maybe, I don't know, but I think the Lanier situation is different because Delenn was never put into those kind of like life and death struggle moments the way that she and Lanier have been. They
That's
went
so
to
true.
right.
Because
They
they
went
got
to war
cut short.
together. They got they did so much together, and he was always kind of like the shield for her, whether it's the emotional shield or the political shield or the physical shield. Right. Lanier was always there to make sure that she was safe.
It's true.
So
It's
I
true.
think that in some way that there is a fine line that's being crossed with Lanier between unrequited love and entitlement.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
Lanier felt like, you know what, I have done all this stuff for you, and I'm not going to go down the gutter and say like, you owe me, but you owe me. You.
Which, I mean, and is she actually asking him to do that? No, I think a lot of times there's times when like if he would have bowed out of a situation, she would have respected that. Like, okay, that's way above my pay grade, Delenn. This is your problem. She probably would have understood and said, "You're right. Just please hold down the fort and please collect the paperwork while I'm out."
I hate to put it in such a crude analogy, but this really kind of stems from the, and forgive me, people, for saying this, but I think that this is actually true. If I spend bucks deluxe on dinner, I'm getting my kiss tonight because I spent bucks deluxe. You know what I'm saying?
I don't fully agree with that. It depends on whether or not it's the first date or the 50th date. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of relationship are we talking about here?
Well, it's just the whole, like, I can only spend so much money before I get something back in return.
Well, okay.
Right?
Like, okay, that very basic principle right there, I can kind of agree, because if a relationship is one-sided, that's not a relationship. There's got to be a little bit of give and give back.
Well, there's also the aspect of and I don't think that Minbari do this, and I'm not saying that Delenn's doing this, but is Delenn leading Lanier on?
Maybe. Now, a lot of comments have said she was naive in how she treated Lanier. I don't think she fully understood just exactly why he was doing all that he was doing for her. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the job. It was her. Right. And she was so close to the situation that she couldn't see it for what it was.
Right.
And she didn't necessarily have anybody on the outside saying, I kind of see this is a little weird. Like, I don't know if John would have been a good person to point that out. Probably not. But what if he had said, like, okay, you realize that Lanier was giving you the googly eyes just a moment ago, right? Nobody did that.
No, you're right. But the thing is that Lanier was really good about not doing that, like, outwardly.
It's true. I mean, he had too much respect for her for that.
Yeah.
I mean, as an example,
Yeah.
It's not like Marcus ever went to Delenn and said, "Do you realize that Lanier loves you?" There probably wasn't really the opportunity or the time to say as much, but what if he had?
Well, there's I know that there was a line when Lanier said that, in time she will learn to love me. In time.
And I'm sorry, that's where the entitlement comes in. That's totally wrong.
Yeah. But it's still kind of, I don't know, does it seem that he felt like it wasn't really 100% unrequited, because he knew that he loved her, or she loved him, up to a certain level, but not at the level that he wanted it to be, or at least at the consistency.
Yes. And Summer says as much in the comments, where after he runs away, basically, she learns just how strong his feelings were after a fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. And certainly after what, the data crystal, or the message that he sent, where he said that in time I will prove my my loyalty, or maybe you'll learn my respect.
Yeah.
Or I'll at least I will reclaim your respect for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think at that point, that is all he wanted. He kind of got boiled down to that little, because he lost all of that. On top, anything else beyond respect at that point was unaskable.
Right. Yeah. So
yeah.
Or forgiveness.
Yeah. Forgiveness might have been too far too, but respect, maybe. We never really got that ending. We don't know.
So I think that not as much as Ivanova's and Marcus's case, but yes, I think that in this case, at least for Lanier's expectations of love, it also is unrequited.
Definitely unrequited. He gave so much of himself, but unlike Marcus, he did ask for something in return and did not get it.
But there was that line, though, when Lanier said to Delenn, he's like, Susan said that all love is unrequited. And then Delenn kind of looked at him, he's like, not all love.
What do you suppose she meant by that?
That's what I mean. That's like,
was she saying that in such a naive fashion of to say, "Oh, Lanier, that's not true. Someday you'll find somebody," or ...
But I guess it really depends on what you define love is in that case, right?
Sure.
Delenn does love Lanier. She does.
Yes, just in a very different way than how he sees it.
Right. So the thing is, there's another element at play here. There's love, there's the expectation or the quality of that love, and is that love the love that's being unrequited or not?
Mm. Yeah, because I would say Delen's, she does reciprocate her love for Lanier in her own way. You know,
Right.
her acknowledgement, her appreciation. But that's a very different relationship than what he wants.
Exactly. But the thing is, it's about perspective. Now, if Delenn believed that love is about mutual respect, admiration, and things of that nature, something more noble and more pure, like Lanier said that his love was for her, absolutely,
Right.
she was reciprocating that love.
Yes. And if that's really where it began and ended with Lanier, that would have been a profound and deep and untouchable relationship in only that way. You
Well,
know, like you have some friends that are just dear, deep friends,
mhm,
and that's all you are,
right,
but nothing can cut through that relationship.
right, totally.
But again, the corruption, it ruined it all.
Yeah. I mean, Lanier took the bite of the apple and
He really did. I
kind of
mean,
ruined
if
that.
they had kept it strictly at a spiritual type of level, just as Terry Lynn just said, there probably would not have been any issue, and Delenn could have loved two people in maybe equal but different fashions in the show. And that's not to say that she didn't. It's just the reciprocation and the expectation completely different on opposite sides.
A lot of people are on the same wavelength here as
Yes, they
Ashar,
are. Good
which is
comments, you
super
guys.
cool.
Oh my gosh. Um, let's see.
The next pairing we have here, the next relationship, I think is super interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we hit it?
We shall hit it.
Okay. Do it.
So let's talk about Zach and Lita.
Yes. I put this one in here because I love in Third Space that scene where Zach Allen goes through the entire motions of a failed relationship with her by his side. She doesn't utter a word. And then it's done.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone through the process.
Right.
They're as good as broken up.
There's that. There's a scene in season 5 where he just kind of goes to bat for her about her not getting the proper quarters, about her getting her rent raised, she even brought her pizza.
That was season 4, wasn't
Was it season 4? Was it season 4?
Yeah, yeah. And he was always the one who had to deliver the bad news.
Right.
And felt bad about it. And, you know, he was one of those very few people who reached out as a friend to Lita and said, hey, look, I care about you. I'm here to help you, however you want. If you just want someone to talk to, look, I'll bring some pizza. Let's make an evening of it.
He's the only one, I think, out of the entire command staff that didn't want anything from her pretty much in any regard. Even not even necessarily like a super like heavy relationship. He just wanted her time, her attention, maybe in some respect.
Yeah, like, I don't know, give me a chance. I'm a good guy.
Yeah, I'm a good guy. I'm a blue collar, hardworking guy, you know?
Right. Like, let's just see what happens. And if she had been open to that, I really think they might have been a cute couple.
Yeah.
And he was also one of the few people who, at least it didn't seem like he cared too much that she was a telepath.
He was just
like he just sees her as a person.
Yeah.
He didn't really care if she was a telepath or not. Like, some people have like true, genuine fear of telepaths, and so they keep their distance. Zach, not a problem.
I think that there was kind of almost a little bit of pity that he had for her because she was getting so crapped on the entire time. Right?
I think he saw that and said, "Hey, I'm gonna reach out, and
like,
try to be a good force in all of this." And yet he ended up being the bad messenger most of the time.
Right. And I have an entire episode worth of feeling about how Sheridan treated Lita. I think that he
was well, that's a big, big topic. Can we save it though for when I'm watching season 5?
Totally.
With my husband, because I need to examine that in precise detail. And it's been a little while since I've watched season 5.
I did not like how that went down at all. At all.
The more I watch it, the more I agree with you. She got shit on.
On hard.
Used and abused. And is it any wonder why she's so freaking angry before she leaves?
And that's why I
Duh.
think Zach did what he did, because he's like, you know what? You helped us out. Like, you are like a huge part of our victory over not only the shadows, but over Earth Force as well, over Clark.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I think he
literally,
saw
like,
what was going on. Uh-huh.
right. If it weren't for you making that telepathic connection with like all of the telepaths that we smuggled onto all the ships, we would have lost. Right?
Right. Yeah, and I think he thinks that she's pretty amazing for
Yeah.
all that she did and is not getting any of the credit. And do you suppose Zach is trying to maybe de-escalate her just a little bit?
I think he just finds somebody who I think he sees somebody who's just in a bad way, that he at least professionally feels like, at least, if you're not my friend, at least we're colleagues.
Uh-huh.
And we all, because we all worked for the president, or at least
Mm.
in one respect, we all worked for, Commander Captain Sheridan under these two giant wars. But he's just like, you know what's happening to you isn't right. And
Yeah.
in the midst of me trying to make it at least right in what I can do for you, I'm kind of digging you. I kind of like, I'm digging your flavor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 I love it.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. But obviously, when Byron came on the station, forget about it.
Yeah. And I wish we maybe would have had a little more with Zach and seeing what happened when Lita did kind of ally herself with Byron. I would love to have seen maybe a little more jealousy out of him, or just maybe even a little more confrontation of, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Really him? Come on. No, no, no,
Well,
no, no.
well, I mean, he did go after Byron a little bit, but under the job.
Well, yes. He was
Right?
trying to do it under professional guys, but just one time I would have really liked to have seen them had just that friend to friend interaction. But then I have to remember Third Space takes place basically in season 4.
Yeah.
And maybe by then he'd already given up on a relationship with her.
You know what? It would have been really cool if Zach looked at Byron, and then Byron said the exact same thing that Bester said to Garibaldi. It's like, anatomically impossible, Mr. Garibaldi or Mr. Allen, but you're more than welcome to try. That would have been so funny. It would have been a nice
Oh,
Easter egg for
man.
the fans.
It really would have been.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest Bester lines.
Ever.
Yeah, super good.
So under different conditions, you say, might they have made it as a couple? I think so. I think they're just two very, very sweet, very normal people.
Yeah. I think under calmer conditions where they're not so freaking busy and being pushed around so much, if they could have just had some time to maybe have a night of pizza and have some conversation and a few beers later see what happens, they might have had a relationship. I don't know if it would have worked out, but it would probably have been good at the time.
Oh, that's a really good point that Terry Lynn brought up. She's like, why are you with them? You know how at Zach like talk, why are you with them? The telepath,
Them.
right? Them.
So then that is kind of like, oh, you're with your telepath buddies,
Mhm.
but there's a whole lot of other connotations with Byron and his group of people. It goes beyond telepathy. It's like it's downright a cult. I'm sorry.
Summer says that Zach's quiet way of saying goodbye when she walked off with Jakar, he still had some feelings for her. Absolutely. Absolutely.
100%.
Yep.
Oh, totally. Never
Yep.
went away.
Yep.
She was the one that got away.
Sad thing is that no one said goodbye to Franklin.
That was really unceremonious, and that's a shame. After all that he did, how about unrequited for that?
Yeah.
Damn.
But it almost seems like that's the way that Franklin kind of wanted it. He's
he might
that
have.
guy.
You know what? I think you're right. I think he took like some, 0-100 hours flight unceremoniously. Didn't really tell anybody when he was leaving.
Nope.
He's
Got to
just
go on
gonna
to the
go.
next job. Yeah. Next job, next adventure.
I think you're right.
Ooh, that's a good topic of conversation.
Damn. Yeah. So many good possibilities coming out today. I love it.
The goodbyes. Yeah.
Summer.
For sure.
Always coming in with the great comment. Yeah, he got a hell of a goodbye from Tess. That's true. That's probably all he really wanted or needed, huh?
Check, please.
I kind of love Franklin he's not a family man. He's not looking for a committed relationship. He's looking for a good time whenever he can have it, and that's A-okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got the number one from number one.
He did.
Right?
Well, and he's married to his job, let's be honest.
Yeah. Number one and number two. So it's a family
Okay.
show.
I'm going to refrain.
Sheridan and Delenn.
I put this in here for a little bit of devil's advocate.
Mhm.
Because compared to some of the other relationships we've talked about here that did not work out ultimately, Sheridan and Delenn ultimately won the big prize, right? They got married. They had a beautiful relationship that lasted for as long as Sheridan was alive, 20 years.
Yeah.
Had a child,
Yeah.
built the Interstellar Alliance. I mean, living their best lives. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So my thought about putting this in was for them, there's a lot of things that they do for one another that don't necessarily need a reward, don't even need a thank you so much as just, I love you so much, I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
And so, in that sense, is their love unrequited?
You know what? I think that because they are so soulfully connected, and they almost were at the very beginning, I don't think it's unrequited in the sense of the definition. I think that they are just on such a different wavelength. There are loves out there,
They're
there are
elevated.
relationships out, yeah, that they just transcend. They transcend the expectations of, if one person in the relationship does one thing, then there should be some type of reciprocate. I can't talk. Reciprocation on the other end, but it's
Uh-huh.
not that. They are the beginning, the middle, and end of each other's sentences.
Pretty much. Although Summer brings up a great point about how, with John's life being cut so short,
Mhm.
Delenn lives on for another 80 years after John dies. There's unrequited pain there. She lives
Yeah.
on without him. So, and one thing I always had a kind of a problem with when John proposes to Delenn is it's right after he says, "Hey, look, babe, I've only got 20 years. What do you say we get hitched?"
Mhm.
It's not the most tactful way to propose to somebody, although I get it. Just because, okay, we're already on a running clock. Let's go.
Well, I mean, even so, though, I mean, based on Minbari versus human physiology, she would have lost him earlier anyway.
Probably, but
You
maybe
know,
not for as long. He might have lived to be 100 something, and then maybe she would have gone on for another 20 years or so, but they would have been elderly as opposed to still in somewhat of a prime.
true enough. True enough. I mean, it's nice to know that we believe that would have happened. But all of a
Sure.
sudden he could have been in a Star Fury and, Raiders or
Right.
whatever, or same thing
Right.
with her. Like,
Yeah. I mean, they were in dangerous positions where anything could have happened at any time. That's absolutely true.
or someone, say, Lanier, could have sabotaged successfully the anti-cooling system and killed a president of the ISL. I
And
mean,
what if
think about
he found a way to cover it up and
right.
find a way to to console Delenn and find some way to get her to fall in love with him? Oh my god. We're getting into soap opera territory now.
No, well, this is all soap opera,
So it
right?
just I know. That's where my brain went, and I'm so sorry, you
It's far
guys.
no, I love soap opera. So, but
Oh, I
far better written soap opera.
I'm here
But
thinking of Melrose Space here.
but that's great fan fiction though. What if Lanier got away with it?
Oh, I imagine there's thousands of fanfics that address this very subject because there's a lot of people who say Lanier did deserve Delenn's love, and that was the OTP, one true pairing.
Mhm. Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Oh,
What
I
did you
don't
think
know
it
the
was?
acronyms. I don't know. I was like, One Tree Hill, or I don't know. I don't
OTP,
know what these things are.
profanity?
Oh, the
As
profanity.
yo,
That's
you
right.
down with OTP? Yeah, you know me.
So Terry Lynn says, no, their souls were together even when he died.
It's true.
John.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she watched the sun come up and he was with her in every
Don't
moment.
don't go there.
I
Don't do it.
know.
It's so good.
I
It's
know.
being so good.
Someday we'll have to do that cry along commentary when we watch Sleeping in Light
I
together.
can't wait to do that. Okay, so raise of hands out there. Who wants to see Shar and me ugly cry doing a live commentary of Sleeping in Late while like drinking heavily?
Please say no. I don't know if my liver can handle it,
I'm putting my hands up.
and I'm saying no. So you get to decide. Put your votes in. Majority
Oh,
will rule.
I'm putting that out on a vote. I'm putting that on a Twitter poll, and you're gonna
Okay.
lose twice.
Copier.
Let's see. Carrie Lynn says, you're making up great new stories. Summer says, OMG, would Lanier have plotted the demise of the child his love rival fathered for the love of his life? Well, what if he took him? Because she was pregnant already.
Yes, she was. Oh, God. What if he and Londo conspired?
I think that they would have just sent David off to the Rangers, and then David would have got his own ship and then renamed himself David Martell and then became a captain of a completely different set of Rangers. And he would have been a legend of the Rangers.
Oh, my God. I like what you did just there.
Boom.
Boom.
Right.
Now, before then, there's got to be some drama where, like, he fakes his death. Maybe.
Martell?
I don't know. It's going to be a little more intricate.
Well, yeah. He'll
He's
do
going
something.
to die in an accident, right? But
Right.
he's not.
What he'll do is that something will happen. He'll find someone named Admiral Picard, and then he'll ask him for his help.
Oh, my.
Oh, wait, I'm crossing the stream.
And then these super soldiers are going to have acid pills that will dissolve him on contact. And
you know, it'd be cool if Garibaldi, smuggled him out.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Garibaldi, he has all the ins and outs, right?
True. He's got all the connections. What if David says, yo, Garibaldi, bail me out?
Yep. Wouldn't it be cool to see, Garibaldi saying, I owe your father so much, blah, 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 blah. And he says, I was pretty good at this at one point in time. And he's like doing like fake IDs. It's like, what? He goes, David Martell. That sounds good.
I love it. And then David uses his fake ID to buy, I don't know, alcohol, dust. I don't know.
Right.
Goes on some weird drug trip thing. That's a segment of the episode.
And then just gets busted. And then all of a sudden it's like, you have fighting spirit. We're going to send you to the unlocked shop. And then now we're tying it into Legends of the Rangers because David Martell really is David Sheridan. Let's be honest.
It should have been. That's my big gripe with the whole thing.
Either that or JMS really just liked the name David.
He was obsessed with the name David. And why wasn't it David Sheridan? I understand it would have had to have taken place in a different time, but it should have been David Sheridan. And I feel like that would have made it a successful pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Like a more successful pilot. Hate to say, but you know what? I think we would have really been interested and on board with the idea of a David Sheridan story.
Summer's so right. It comes full circle because Bruce Boxleitner plays Dylan Neal's father in the Hallmark movies. And you know what?
Right.
Here's like the greatest thing ever. It would be so awesome if they were like having a conversation, like we were having a conversation. It's like, you're supposed to be my son. What? It's like, oh yeah, I was talking to Jay Michael about this. You're supposed to be my son. That's my Bruce Boxleitner right now. That's the best I can do.
That's really gruff and gravelly.
Well,
that's like 5 packs a day gravelly.
I'm like old man Sheridan now.
He's smoking cigars at this point with Garibaldi.
One perfect day.
Sunday drive.
It's a little tight. Must have shrunk in storage.
Yeah, of course. That's the reason. Oh my God. Terry, I forgot that you are heading over the pond soon for the big convention. I am a little jealous, but by golly, I hope you have a lot of fun.
Yeah, send pictures.
Yeah, there's going to be so many B5 things happening there. Please report back and tell us about all your adventures. It's going to be such a good time.
Yeah, and we would love to read any of your emails or Twitters or texts or anything like that on the show. Please share with us because we're not going.
Unfortunately, no, not in the cards.
No. So it's all you. It's all on you.
So you get to do whatever the heck you want and tell us all about it.
That's
going to be great.
So we got to hit some final thoughts here.
We do. We've got to close up the show now. So have we come to any answers about unrequited love?
I think we have in a way, because with it, we have to kind of set parameters of what that love is. What is being unrequited? What kind of, I guess, at what experience, what perception, what perspective, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think it is a little bit subjective. Unrequited love may look different from one relationship to another.
Right. And the expectations and what people think that they should be aspiring to, or they should be setting some type of, I don't know, like realistic parameters for that love.
And that's very difficult to do when you're already in love.
Yeah. It's, who do you think, I mean, aside from Susan, I mean, who do you think in this case mostly between, like, say, Zach and Lita, or Lanier and Delenn, was really on the unrequited side?
I really have to go with Lanier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ultimate unrequited love. He was never going to get what he wanted.
Ooh, gotta take a minute here.
Yeah. Oh,
Thanks, Summer.
And
Right.
Catherine Sakai. Now that is a very interesting relationship.
Next episode on the Zocalo.
Is that what you want to do?
That sounds amazing.
Let's do like a deep dive on their relationship. Just go through the ins and outs of it. And then ultimately, yeah, I mean, Catherine Sakai loses him.
I'll tell you what, if you're in a relationship and in love with someone to the point where you can, like, recite poetry, that's a relationship.
You think?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're talking about, like, Tennyson, like blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, okay. I'm like, I mean, I've been with Carol for 20 years and I can't recite any poetry to her. I can barely recite a grocery list.
You know what? That is what I recite to my husband, and we've been married for 12, together for 15.
See?
So I mean, that's the reality of a long-term relationship, I think.
Okay, so our Sleeping in Light live watch, okay, is going to be
Summer wants in on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're welcome to join us on Ugly Cry. I mean, it's just going to be an hour of sobbing.
Yeah, this is going to be
miserable.
Maybe we should do that in a giant group thing, right? We can invite, like, more people onto this and just watch all of us just look like snotty crying messes. Because I do.
Great. That's good viewing.
My best look.
Mine too. Everybody's best look. What's better than seeing a bunch of snot running down people's noses and tears streaming down our eyes, and we're all red-faced and bloated, and yeah.
But it's honest, though. It comes by honestly, though. Right?
Yes. Well, and maybe with some halfway profound things to say. Depends on how much brevari.
That should be a whole, just kind of like couple hours worth of recording. We'll set that up maybe in a couple weeks and just do this in giant block watch party of Sleeping in Light. Okay,
block party. I kind of dig. So then next week, you want to do a deep dive on Sakai and Sinclair?
Yeah.
Let's do that. And then we'll plan Sleeping in Light. That sounds good.
Yep, for sure.
All right. So with that, Terry, have an amazing time. We can't wait to hear all about it. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. You've been fantastic. It's so good to see you guys tune in. I've been Shar. You've been Norm.
And make sure that if you like what you've seen on this show, please support the Zocalo across all social media channels. Make sure that you follow us on the Zocalo Marketplace. The Zocalo Marketplace. Wait, no, our Gmail is. Oh, God. The funny thing is I've been doing so many things with, like, Mission Log where I would, like, mess up, and it's like, okay, just fix that in editing. So let me do that again.
It's all good.
Again. If you would like to support the Zocalo across all of our social media channels, please Gmail us at the Zocalo Marketplace at gmail.com. You can also find us here on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notification so that you know when all of the new shows have hit your feed. You can also find us on Twitter at twitter.com/Zocalo Livecast and Reddit at the Zocalo.
That's right. And help us keep the bills paid by buying a shirt, just like Terry Lynn did. And that helps us pay for the Be Live platform that we use to broadcast the show.
So with that, we're going to plan our Sleeping in Light live block party Ugly Crycast.
Yep. Dana's ready. She's got her line.
And then next week, we are going to be doing Sinclair and Sakai and unrequited love.
A relationship.
Oh, okay. A relationship, if you will, if you want to type it all out. I am wearing a Rush t-shirt. Thank you very much. This is in honor of Neil Peart.
R.I.P.
The Starman. Yeah, my favorite band.
Stuff. I've been listening to a lot more Rush in the wake of his death.
Before I leave, I was at the grocery store. I was wearing a Rush t-shirt, and this dude goes, "Dude, awesome t-shirt. I walk up to him, it's like, dude, Neil. He goes, dude, I know. I'm like, dude, sad. He's like, dude, you're right.
Dude.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
Dude.
what? Dude, YYZ. Boom. It was cool though, because Carol's like, wow, you guys like broed on a completely different level. Like, Rush.
That's what happens sometimes.
Right. I broed out on that level. So, anyways, I have been Norm. You have been Shar.
Yo.
And until next week, be seeing you.
Bye.